Well, I think he's learning the job. I think President Trump is learning the job. And some of the things that were said during the campaign, I think he now knows simply aren't the way things ought to be.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell saying what a lot of establishment Republicans and a whole lot of Democrats have been thinking. As the reality of the job confronts the new president, he's making some major decisions about the people he wants surrounding him in office. And on many fronts, the president has completely reversed his stand on issues he campaigned on, most recently China, NATO, interest rates, and more. In fact, here is how White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer answered questions about these policy changes today.
So I'm wondering, on some of these other policy shifts where you haven't seen the type of change you're talking about with NATO, what should we make of those kinds of shifts? And again, are there any policy areas that are non-negotiable, that are off limits?
Well, there's always going to be. I think that there's going to be areas where I think, again, it depends on the outcome. In the case of NATO in particular, as I pointed out, it's the most illustrative. I think you look at the president's position, where he wanted to see NATO in particular evolve to, and it's moving exactly in the direction that he said it was in terms of its goals of increasing the amount of participation from other member countries, and two, is having a greater focus on terrorism.
With us now, Washington Post national political reporter Robert Costa. We welcome to the broadcast tonight Catherine Lucy, White House reporter for the Associated Press. And back with us in the studio, former Undersecretary for Public Diplomacy and Public Affairs at the State Department, Rick Stengel, also happens to be a former managing editor of Time magazine. Robert, I have to ask you how this new to the job and learning the job notion has affected what you're seeing and hearing. We talked about you last night in absentia. The piece, you were part of a 3-byline piece with 21 off-the-record sources out of this administration, which kind of has to be a modern record.
Brian, you were as generous as always. Appreciate that. What we learned, Brian, yesterday and today in conversations with White House sources is that this remains a president who's non-ideological. And he's not only learning on the job, but he's picking up his own agenda on the job through conversations with business executives and Wall Street figures who are now in his administration. The ideologues who fueled him during the campaign remain at his side, like Stephen Bannon, his strategist. But it's Gary Cohn and visiting CEOs, Dina Powell, and others, Jared Kushner, Ivanka Trump, who are in the president's ear and saying, if not moderate, at least move in a different, less edgy direction.
Catherine, I have to ask another question about our business. You got Passover, you have spring break for a whole lot of kids in school. Tomorrow's Good Friday. We head into Easter weekend. Civilians get to look at this period of time and look at an opportunity perhaps to relax. Reporters, on the other hand, we get nervous and shifty because Good Friday, anytime over Easter weekend, is a dandy time to drop a personnel change, a negative news story. I assume the Associated Press is ever on guard.
Well, I will certainly be at work tomorrow, so if there's a late Friday news break, we will be ready. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a holiday weekend. You know, we also, Congress is out, so things are a little quieter. But with this White House, we really can never stop watching closely. This is a president who doesn't really take breaks. He's always on Twitter, for one, so we never really know what to expect from him or when. And I think to the broader point about the influences and who he's talking to and his positions, he's someone who's made very clear that he's flexible. And he's always been that way. And I think we're going to continue to see him evolve. And what's happened this week we should not take that to be the last word. I mean, I think we're going to continue to see evolution here.
Rick Stengel, an honest, straight-up question. He is a novice at politics. He is a novice at all things military. He does not have a basis in history. What's wrong with any or all of that?
There's nothing wrong with that, Brian. I mean, everyone says the job is sui generis, that everyone has to learn it on the job. He happens to be coming from much further back than anybody else. He had to discover that there are 3 branches of government, for example. There's all kinds of things that he needed to learn. He's not steeped in history. And the thing that is a little bit annoying, and it's the sort of autocrat's trick, is that he never ever says he doesn't know something. That's why he fixes NATO overnight, like that, in 1 hour, and he changes relationships with the Chinese, and suddenly there's a new reality that he deems reality, which is a Putin trick. So I completely approve of him learning on the job and changing his mind to something that we agree with and think is more mature and more establishment-oriented. It's just the manner that is sometimes a little bit disturbing.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.